Hello, everyone. Specifically, hello to Michael because somehow we managed to leave a comment, a greeting before I even started the live stream, which is great. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Angular Space TV. We have another live stream episode today. And yeah, I still don't have guests, but trust me, soon some really exciting Angular people are gonna show up. It's been super hard for me to kind of reach out to people and keep keep content like manage how we will schedule everything. So yeah. Uh, Another solo live stream today. Although we have an exciting topic, I hope I do manage to get some exciting topics and get some interesting discussion started. Uh, hey, Logan. Hey, what's going on YouTube? Michael says YouTube. License let to say whatever once it is posted. You could theoretically just spam it before anything starts. Oh wow, interesting. I didn't know. But then I don't understand what discussion is going on there because hi Matteo. He says yes, then he says thank you, and then he says LOL. I don't know what sort of discussions you guys are having there on YouTube. Hey. So yeah, today we're going to talk about ngxtension, which is a fantastic Angular library which has seen some quite the adoption in the past year or two. I think it exists for 2 years or even more. Hey, I think it exists for 2 years and maybe even more. I have used it. A lot of people have used it, and uh, it has a couple of interesting. It has a couple of interesting points and a couple of interesting features also because it's a bit different from what you would expect from a library nowadays. And instead, it is something that you would expect from a library if you just got into a software development job and this is the first time you hear about what a library is. Okay, so for example, if I do a comparison, if we think about RxJS, for example, RxJS is a library. No one would probably call it a framework. Let's not start this, oh, it's a framework or it's a library debate. But obviously, when it comes to things like RxJS, most probably people will say, well, it's a library. It's not like a framework, it's a library, it's a collection of things that you can use. But even with RxJS, it comes with some fundamental things that require you to use them if you are using RxJS. So you don't get to kind of pick and choose what to do with RxJS. If you do RxJS, you are using observables in some way or form. If you are doing something remotely more complicated, just subscribing to something, you are using operators. You might use different operators, but some of them are so uh, common in terms of how you would use them in your everyday work that you are going to use them. So in that sense, RxJS is a bit more controlling. Like, okay, great job you using RxJS. Now you have to use observables, you have to use operators. That's just the backbone of what's going on there. Now with ngxtension, interestingly enough, it's like this very classic library that just has a bunch of tools that are sometimes connected to each other and are sometimes not really connected to each other. And you can just pick and choose whatever you want. I'm just gonna open the uh, like getting started section of their documentation, just skim through it so you can see how it works in terms of like how do you install it and how do you approach it and what considerations you need to do. But yes, essentially that's it. It's a tool set. It's a big Angular tool set. It has a lot of stuff very useful for when you're dealing with signals. And I hope this is the year of 2026 and we are all using signals now. We're all very happy with that. So giving some more power to the built-in signal blocks that we have, like signals, computed signals and so on, is just great. So yeah, That's what we're going to be covering today. And Matteo explained what he meant. I was answering to the question in the stream title. I forgot that the stream is titled like, should you try ngxtension? And yes, I agree. The answer is definitely yes, you should try it. And if you haven't, or it's the first time you're hearing about it, then you walked into the correct live stream. Hey. First version was September 10, 2024. Oh, yeah, 2.5 years. Very solid. Very solid. Yeah, just let me quickly share my screen so I can start showing some actual stuff going on. Takes me a bit too long to find the share screen button. Yeah, there we go. Now, as I said, with ngxtension, you don't need to learn about any core ideas. Like, this is just a bunch of utilities, great utilities. You can pick and choose which you use. You can, like, if you have a very specific problem and you don't want to, like, reinvent the bicycle, as we say, instead you can just go on ngxtension documentation website, try and search something that might work for you, or I don't know, give Claude the link to the documentation. There's not a big documentation. It's very well structured. So I think AI coding tools would not have problems finding like necessary tools that you might want to use. So yeah, now this is one important thing that I want to showcase is that like it says the library is entirely consistent of secondary entry points. So you install ngxtension as one package, but your Angular build process will do code splitting and tree shaking. So while it has this big bunch of different tools that you might want or not want to use, in your final application bundle, when you do a production build, for example, only the things that you're actually using in your code will appear. So this will have such a minimal impact on your bundle size and subsequently on stuff like performance and so on. So this is also one great thing that we can say about ngxtension. Now, I think the initial idea of ngxtension was to add kind of like some tools on top of signals that arrived in 2023, right? So this is where the library was born. And I think it has a bunch of interesting things. I think the initial things were kind of related, for example, to router 2, when we got these different utility functions that we could use to transform URL data into signals. I think if I'm not correct, someone can correct me in the comments, but my first memory of ngxtension was having this sort of function, and maybe of course these other functions like derived async or derived from and so on. So maybe it's a kind of a good place to start if you go to derived async. This is kind of like what we have with resources now. Essentially, it's a computed signal, but it is derived from an asynchronous source. There's nothing hard going on here. Actually, the syntax is kind of easier than what you would have with resources, but of course, it also doesn't provide you with many features as resources do. It's interesting if this page now mentions anything about resources. Not really, I think, yeah. So in essence, it's like you have a promise or you have an observable, you can just pass it to derived async and you will work out a signal that you can just then, like using your templates, it will look like it's synchronous. It can have initial value. So it kind of looks like the toSignal function that we initially have with signals like in the RxJS interop package. Um, you can also use it with other regular values. You can use other computed signals, which is kind of great because you can essentially pass anything to the callback when you are creating a derived asynchronous signal. And yeah, it essentially kind of accepts all the parameters that you would expect from to signal, like require sync, initial value, and so on. And also for injection context, you can also pass the injector. So far, this looks essentially like to signal with maybe a slightly simpler syntax and also supporting promises. But where it gets interesting is that you can also provide behaviors. Now, this is an interesting subject. That's why I started with this one. You can provide concat merge. No, concat repeats. I think what they meant is concat merge, concat and switch and exhaust. See, we found a small mistake. Well, either this one or this one is mistake. I think this one needs to be switch because it's a default. Yeah. Michael, so it sounded like from your interview with Andrew that people may want to turn to ngxtension for signals and routing for stuff like params. Yeah, definitely. I will address those utility functions next. That's true with routing, but we have some limitations. And yeah, if you haven't watched that live stream, it was a super interesting one, both about in terms of like routing, which was the main topic, but also in relation to Angular's transition to well, in the future to the TS-Go compiler. There was some interesting news there. So yeah, go give that one a watch. Andrew was a super interesting guest. I learned a lot from him on that one. So give that one a watch. In the GitHub discussion around ngxtension, there was talk about deprecating derived async, but IDK if anything materialized for that. Well, great news. I think Enea right now is watching us. Hi, Enea. Don't you want to appear on one of our live streams? We could talk about ngxtension even more from the perspective of someone who is maintaining it. So I'd love to see something on that. So yeah, I just picked derived async because one of the oldest one and it's kind of like still useful. Although with resources, obviously, if you are using derived async, it might make sense to transition to resources when you have when they are stabilized and when you decide that it's okay to use in your code base. But yeah, this one was interesting. The switch, merge, and concat behaviors. This is something that resources do not have, and it kind of makes sense that they do not have it because it's a kind of like a deeper implementation detail. So it would be a bit weird for Angular itself to implement it. Like wouldn't actually expect. I wouldn't actually expect the Angular core team to go and say, okay, we need to add also these behaviors, because at some point, if you're building a reactive primitive, which resource is, you can definitely build some other interesting stuff on top of it. But I don't think that's the core team's job. Now, this switching behavior is a kind of an edge case. On the other hand, it's something that is truly necessary here because it's very important, for example, in terms of UX. Sometimes you want to abort the previous request. Sometimes you want to make all the requests. Sometimes you want to merge them in some way or whatever. Now, and in that case, it kind of would make sense if Angular itself supported it with resources, but you can also make the case that, oh no, it's not now the job of the framework to also handle that. That's an implementation detail. Use it in a way that you yourself are kind of covering those cases. Now, what's interesting to me is, like, for example, when you do I think exhaust is the interesting one because also I think from a bunch of interviews that I did in the past with candidates who were job seeking an Angular position. Usually people don't know exhaust map, which is kind of a shame because it's a really useful operator. Um, is there anyone who doesn't know what exhaust map does and wants to know? Leave a comment and I will explain. But now I want to kind of move forward a bit. And Al says I can jump in, I guess. No problem, man. Let me send you a link and join in. It will be my pleasure. See, now we're getting somewhere. We didn't have a guest, but now we do, apparently. I sent you on Twitter, but I can also do Slack if you don't want to go there. Twitter DMs became such a mess. I mean, party hard, yeah, man. Let me see. Uh, Yep. We are waiting for. And yeah, actually, before he joins, a fun fact is that I think when we take a look at people who are maintaining ngxtension, da, 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 just one moment. I think I saw a page that was showing all the like core contributors, or was it a different library? No, sorry, that was I think NGRX toolkit. Sorry. Yeah, I think I'm confusing it with NGRX toolkit. Michael says I made a PR to fix the dog typo with a duplicate concat. Man, I wish I did that on the live stream, but yeah, great job. Maybe everything is moving so fast these days, and maybe we kind of end up also like generally contributing some new features today. Yeah, I think what I wanted to actually say is that from the maintainers of NGRX toolkit, we had Michael and Rainer on. I kind of for a moment confused that with ngxtension. Yeah, we're kind of waiting on. And yeah, I'm trying to remember. Oh, he's here. Hey, man.
Hello,
Welcome to our live streams, finally.
nice to be here.
Uh, nice to meet you. Hey.
I saw a message from Michael uh,
Uh,
sending me the post. I had no idea this was going on. I have to jump in.
yeah, I wanted to because like every other live stream, we somehow end up talking about ng extension in some way. Like we discuss something, and then didn't ng extension have the function that actually solves this? Then we would go there and talk. And I thought, well, man, this is such a great library. Why don't we just do an episode covering it? And I didn't have time to reach out. I didn't have time to reach out to anyone. As you guys can see, I'm doing solo live streams this past month. But yeah, now today is not a solo live stream. What I'm super interested about is like the main question for me that I will, because now you're here and I can ask that question instead of just talking about ng extension, is that how do you balance having your things in your library with what Angular is delivering. And this question came up today also with the like derived async versus resources. Like, where do you imagine the ngxtension library being in relation to?
Well, as you saw, or as I think Michael wrote, that we wanted to basically deprecate the library, the function of derived async,
Yeah,
because well, resource is better. It's derived async was a solution that came up when signals were brand new. There was nothing else we could use, and I'm like, I need something to derive my signals into some async, like have some async story there. And I just checked what other communities had, and derived async was utility, but also made sense since coming from RxJS, we could just, let's say, pipe into a switch map and be like, I have a signal, I want to put a switch map and
yeah,
make an API call, and that's what resource is. So we probably don't need derives async for that, even though it's slimmer on the API side. You can just say, I want a signal that is derived based on this function call and this signal. But yeah, use resource, don't use derived async.
yeah. Okay. And what would you say to people who would say, "Wait, I like the behavior thing. Like, how do I do that with resources?
Well,
How do I just yeah,
I don't know yet, but I don't think you need behavior other than switch map when you derive signals into, let's say, some API call. Like you need some API call to be derived from some
yeah"?
signal, because
But in terms of yeah, yeah, I was
because
saying
you need to, if you need behavior like concat or switch or
yeah,
merge and more stuff like that, you probably shouldn't use a resource. You need some other mutation story like create
yeah.
effect, rx method, or signal method. And
Yeah,
for,
I wanted to. Yeah, I wanted to ask, but then I kind of realized that that's not how resources work. I wanted to say like, oh, but we have stuff like Rx resource where we have an observable. Maybe we can use operators. But then I remember that with Rx resources, we kind of resubscribe to that observable, so we don't have the benefit of actually using those operators,
yeah,
which is a bummer, but it also kind of makes sense because it would be like infinitely more complicated if we could do those operators there, and now it would be a mess in terms of like, did my signal change and it triggered something, or did it like, was it the previous emission that arrived late? So it's yeah, it's kind of a
like better just,
hotbed for bugs.
yes, just better cancel
Yeah,
things, start brand new. And honestly, I like rx resource. I never used resource, I only have observables
yeah,
still.
same here.
Yeah, and it's like, if I need something extra, then I just use create effect. That is, I think, Rx method. That, but I get it from ngxtension. That's the second thing we had in ngxtension. It was create effect,
Yeah,
and we stole it from component store. That was a good API. And
yeah,
okay, so yeah, derived async. If you like it, keep using it. I don't have any plans to get rid of it. The API is cool. It like if you're coming from Vue or I think React, where I think they also have their own version of derived async, and well, it's a good let's say migration utility,
yeah,
like a mental migration
yeah,
utility
yeah,
coming from other ecosystem. But if you want the best tool, use Rx resource, because
yeah,
probably that will be more integrated into Angular. Like if you have seen the RFCs, the resource probably is migrated into signal forms, but probably will get migrated integrated into the
yeah.
Angular router. And
And
right,
I think it is. I think you thought that you misspoke about signal forms, but that's true that it also kind of is a part of signal forms now too.
yeah,
You
if
can
you
pass resources as async validation for
Exactly.
controls. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So I think also the new debounced thing,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken, is just the resource.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Angular is embracing resources, and they will be more integrated into the framework. So it's better to use those. Even though
But
I maintain ngxtension, which tries to have extensions about Angular, if Angular has something, it's better to use the official one, of course.
yeah, right.
Exactly.
Now the interesting part is the stuff about router, because as Michael kindly reminded me at the beginning when I talked to Andrew, who is uh, mostly the big guy on the router story inside Angular core team. He said that probably they don't have any plans on expanding the existing support for Signals Plus router in terms of, and now ngxtension has this story of supporting different router features. Actually, maybe please forgive me if I say it in a better way than Angular now has natively. For example, as far as I understand, functions like I think inject query params, for example, right? I think they are reading
You can share
query
speech.
parameters. Yeah, right. Let me just quickly switch to the other tab. Yep, there we go. I think the inject query params function, if anyone watching is unfamiliar, it does on the surface essentially the same that you have with the component input bindings.
Yeah.
So you get the query parameters. But as if I remember correctly, what it does also, it kind of doesn't care about the hierarchy of the components.
Well, it does somehow. Like query params is, well, query params, you need it to be inside of let's say a router outlet because it uses
Ah, yeah,
active route. But I think we scroll. Yeah,
but it doesn't need to be the derouted component, right?
yeah, probably you don't. But most of the time, you have like query params work for like all the routes. It doesn't matter. You
Yeah.
probably are talking about route params, not query params. Yeah, params.
Yeah.
Params.
Inject params. Yeah.
Yeah, like this, the default one, inject params, is still based on activated route. But if
Yeah.
you need it like to not care about all the, if you are on the right or like right component, you have
Yeah.
the inject params that global. Like just like we have input that required, we have
Ah.
inject params that global, which is part of the global params.
Ah. So you can read the other parameters
Yes,
because
from the global.
yeah. So you don't need to be the routed component. You
Exactly.
don't. You, it can be a child component or like another form of descendant. So
Yes.
that
And
gives us a big edge there.
yeah, and you have the same API, just like inject params. You can, I don't know, just put a string as a key or a transform function to get like whatever key you need. Or I guess, yeah, I also guess you have parsing stuff there. And you have the same API for route data. Yeah, you can showcase it. Like you have dot global that gives you all the route params based on a key, or with a transform function that you can get params however you like, or options like parsing. You can parse it based on, I don't know, you need it as a number or you need it as a or as something. And of course you can create, like the example shows breadcrumbs, but you also have route data that also is you have inject route data that is for the current route, but also route data dot global, which gets it for the whole, like get route data for the whole route that you're in, route tree that you're in. You're muted.
Ah, sorry. Won't be a normal live stream if I didn't mute myself or forget to share the screen.
Yeah.
uh, Now, what's super interesting to me is the linked, sorry, how is it called? Linked query param, because that one is completely unfamiliar to me, but it says two-way binding for query parameters.
Well, that is my favorite utility on the whole library. Basically, you can create a signal with a key and be like,
Yeah.
I want the thing to be synchronized with the query params. And yeah, that's the whole thing. Like if you have ng model or signal form, it doesn't matter.
Oh, wow.
Link query param search, and now when query params change, this signal changes, or when this signal changes, the input on the query params will be updated. So if you
Oh,
want your state to be stored, yeah, you also have parsing, stringifying. So you can do, I don't know, booleans, numbers. So whatever you store on the URL can be transformed back, like parsed. You can have objects. I mean, nothing stops you, or
yeah.
you have, for example, selected categories, IDs, and store some arrays.
Nice.
I mean, this is probably not standard how we store arrays on URLs, but
Yeah.
this way.
But we can, yeah, but we can customize it. I think
Yeah,
the like standard way of
it's
having
repeating.
arrays is repeating the same parameter,
Yes,
right? Yeah. But still, yeah, a lot of people don't use that and instead use something that more like
something that
this.
sometimes that just works. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah,
No, this is, yeah.
you have I think some defaults for booleans and I think arrays and numbers. But yep, that's my favorite tool on ngxtension.
Yeah, no,
Oh
no
yeah,
wonder, because it's like really, really, really useful. I think something around, for example, if we take 10 stack query, uh, from the very beginning, that library was kind of supporting having your state in query parameters, right? Something like that. It was this initial idea that kind of a lot of things that you want synchronized instead of having I mean, it was coming from React, I guess. Instead of having like use state and storing it as variables, you had it in the query parameters. And if you did it in like a reasonable way and you split your components in a reasonable way, it kind of worked out like magic. So I think query parameters in general are kind of underrated. I
well,
think people should use them more.
that's where your state should live. Like if you change something that needs to be stored for other users to see when you share the link, well,
Yeah,
programs is the place.
definitely. You know, I'm just right now
And the best,
crafting a tweet letting everyone know that you are on the stream if they are not watching yet.
so
Yeah.
I think link query param, on NGDE, I had a talk about
Yeah.
ngxtension or the patterns in general. And link query param can be also just used inside signal store. For example,
Mm.
it's you can just treat it as a prop and filters and have that thing as a prop, and you can just use it with, I don't know, signal forms or template driven or reactive, it doesn't matter. In the end, what you care about is to have some signals you can update that, and you can react to them changing. And link query param was that,
Yeah.
let's say, that main driver of two-way binding everything for me.
Yeah. Now, wait. Michael is saying a lot of stuff here. Yeah, like an ask issue which shows how link parameter would work in a signal form. Yeah.
And I shared the issue. It looks like too much code, but it depends how you look at it.
Do you wait? That shouldn't be me sharing a screen. What was that issue about?
Well, it's about if you have an object with some linked query params and you want to use it on a signal
Yeah.
form because signal form is great, then you can just create a function that basically just makes it easier to use uh, link query param inside signal forms. That's
So
it.
it would be easy to bind your form to query parameters
Yes, like
also.
two-way
Yeah.
binding.
Yeah. That makes sense for like big forms when you have long query parameters which are also shareable.
I mean,
That's a nice touch. Yeah.
if you have filters, if you have some kind of pagination, and you want to store all of those in the URL, it makes sense
Yeah.
to have that.
Another interesting thing for me is the browser API stuff, because that is something people usually don't touch like 95% of the time, or maybe like even 99% of the time. Then one day they need it and they have to go read a bunch of stuff and then understand how to integrate it with their Angular apps. Let me just show the, for example, inject is intersecting.
Yeah,
Uh, which says help a function that returns an observable that emits when the component or directive or given element is being intersected. So this sounds like a very complex thing made super simple,
I still don't
and
know
now
why
I'm
I
interested.
went for observables here, to be honest.
Why is it what?
I still not sure why I went with observables here, to be honest. It could have
Hmm.
just been a signal, like is intersecting returns an observable, not a signal.
True. Yeah, makes sense. I think it's kind of a bit of like an implementation, because it's easy to turn an intersection observer into an observable, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it makes sense that it's although in terms of like intersection, for example, if it was a mutation observer, that
Well,
would make sense to have an observable.
yeah.
Do we have anything about that? No,
There's a
but we
lot
have.
of like
Yeah.
ngxtension issues is full of these utils that can be implemented but are not haven't made it into the code base or the library yet because either
No, yeah. Yeah.
I haven't had any time to spend on it or someone else hasn't put it at PR that I can review. But
Yeah.
I'm happy to, I mean, get more useful stuff inside, like mutation observer, intersection observer, resize
Yeah.
observer.
Now I have a an interesting question from. Yeah, you have directives, for example, or you have a thing
Yeah,
called directives.
repeat pipe.
This No, I'm interested specifically in directives. I think this one is a directive.
I don't know. I didn't create
So
it,
you
but
oh,
probably.
okay. It looks like one. Is the example symbol get up? Yes, this is a directive. Yes. What was interesting to me is that I saw a bunch of other things that, for example, could be directives. One was the previous one that we were taking a look at. The is intersecting thing could also be a directive, right? I
Yes.
mean, in terms of like it will emit an event when a given element is intersecting or something like that comes into the viewport.
Well, there are directives like that that
Yeah.
Taiga UI
Yep.
guys
Yep.
created. Like I think, yeah, NG with uh, APIs. You have a lot of directives there that include,
Yeah.
I don't know, everything you need when it comes to web APIs, either intersection or mutation or stuff like that.
Now
It,
I want to ask one thing that was always kind of fascinating to me, because I always recommend people to use ng extension. Usually, when someone says, "Oh, I need this somewhere I want to connect it to something else, what's the correct way? I say that just go on ngxtension documentation, see if they have something that will help you. And that kind of resulted in me not being very familiar with ngxtension, because very often I myself interact with the library in the way that, oh well, this sure sounds like a utility that I can write, and then like, wait, we need to go to ngxtension, see what's going on there, and then decide like how to approach it. So if I compare to RxJS, another library that all Angular developers are familiar with, RxJS, you dedicate some time and effort to learn it. Well, obviously, it's a way bigger topic. No one is kind
Yeah.
of doubting that, but it has this paradigm thing. And while ng extension has a lot of amazing stuff, you don't ever go and try to learn it. And I'd love for everyone to change that a bit and maybe dedicate some time to looking at what ngxtension can offer. So I want to hear your opinion on how you would love people to kind of approach ngxtension for the first time.
Well, this year I had a talk, not this year, last year, on NGDE, which is basically built on top of Signals. I will share the link for anyone if interested,
Yep, that would be great.
where I basically share the whole how ng extension came to be a thing. Not ng extension story, but how some patterns evolved when Angular signals, let's say, were public. So the moment that you have some signal, and then you can also have the destroy hook, like with a destroy ref, and you can put those things together. Now you can create utilities that, well, make it easier for you to use stuff. For example, we have the route utilities like inject query params. That's basically subscribing to activated route query params, and then you can basically unsubscribe from it automatically when the component gets destroyed because of destroy ref. But now you just need a function and it gives you what you need. It's like small factory functions like that you use with the inject pattern that gives you whatever you need. But the best part is those are all single file utilities, meaning you don't even have to install ng extension. What you can
Yeah.
do is go to the implementation, copy the implementation on your code base, and you don't have to install the library at all. Like if you're on an enterprise or somewhere where there are strict rules when it comes to libraries. So ng extension is mostly a collection of utilities that most of the time you'll need when building, let's say, features, instead of a library that like RxJS or some, I don't know, like Angular itself. It's just small functions. It's glue code, as I
Yeah.
also mentioned it on the talk. It's glue code that just makes some, let's say, code patterns easier to read and let's say write less code.
But that's great. That's great because what I like the word glue code that you mentioned, because what glue does is that it reduces friction, it
Yeah,
makes things stick, and now instead of having a bunch of things that do relatively the same task and having to also maintain them, you have people who maintain it in a dedicated manner. It's open source. If you notice something there, you can fix there, and it will fix by for a larger community. So that's why I see like libraries like ng extension often don't get the attention they deserve in that terms, but they are really great because they often reduce the amount of the stupidest discussion people sometimes have about code bases. Like, oh, this function was, I don't know, too generic or not too specific or something. But now, well, we have things that are both specific and generic depending on the use case, which you can just use and don't bother thinking about how it's implemented.
yeah.
Uh,
For
yeah,
example, I think on
sorry, Yeah, I had a comment. I think Johannes Homeyer. I'm like 87% confident on my pronunciation. So Johannes Homeyer says I started something similar right around the same time. I guess maybe there are some utilities we can bring over to ngxtension.
Feel free to
Yeah,
send yours. I mean, what's the library called? Maybe I've checked it before. I don't know.
would be. I think ngxtension gets a fair amount of contributions.
Well, yeah. I mean, last release was full of new things. I mean, Matthew uh, put it, I think, three new things that I haven't made any announcement yet, but well, he added a reactive helper called on, explicit effect. It's
Yeah,
one of the utilities. He created a new one called on, I think, uh, inspired by solid.js on, which basically makes it easy to have explicit dependencies without importing a new effect.
yeah,
You just import a utility that makes that effect,
mm.
let's say, more powerful. And
Yeah.
also
That's
some utilities for tests copied, I think, on the Angular code base.
yeah. By the way, here is the library mentioned.
Proper name.
Angular extensions, especially HMJ slash composables. I think I need to. I can't. Wait, I can't click on the link in this chat without like if I click on the link, it will show and unshow the comment. Yeah, but Johanna says that my pronunciation was spot on. I can. I'm very proud when I can pronounce names correctly. Some names are obvious. Some names some people think are not obvious, but are kind of easy to me. For example, take Enea. I think I pronounce his name correctly. Do
Yeah,
I? But I wouldn't try your last name.
yeah, don't.
Wait, how do you pronounce it?
You want to know?
Of course, I want to know. I'm super curious.
It's Enea Yahalari.
Makes sense. I always pronounce it with a J,
No, it's
but yeah, it makes sense. That's nice. Wait, I want to also check out this Angular extensions library, and I need to, yeah,
I think we
Google
have
it.
some of. I think he left. I'm on my own, I guess.
Oh no, my specific live stream tab crashed, and I think I'm gonna blame Slack. I think I complained about it in the past. Let me just check. Somehow, well, maybe that's not the case this time. Somehow, the Slack desktop application, I don't know if anyone had the same experience. Somehow, the Slack desktop application has some, I don't know, memory leak or something, keeps flooding my RAM, and then my laptop sounds like it's gonna take off. But this time that wasn't Slack. I don't know why that happened, but whatever. You have 58 open issues on ng extension. I think
Uh,
that's
the,
insane.
the thing is, those are not issues. I don't like to see them as issues. Most of them are features that are not implemented
Yeah,
yet. Like people are like, I have this a function in my code base that I can put in ng extension, and they open an issue. I myself do it the same way. I see something cool somewhere, open an issue. Like the last
yeah,
issue, add typed directive into ng extension, and that's basically I get it. I got it from some comment on Angular.
yeah.
Well, there
That's
are some
nice.
issues for sure, but most of them are just
No,
features.
obviously, yeah. When I said issues, I meant like
Yeah.
GitHub issues in that sense, which is fascinating. When I said 58, like it's a fairly active thing going on. A lot of people are interested in new things.
Well, we get around I think 70K weekly downloads.
Yeah.
And there's also traffic on GitHub. I mean, there's a lot of cloners, page
Really?
visitors. Yes, there's a lot of forks.
Oh, interesting. By the way, I remembered about npm and just now taking a look at the. Yeah, you have around 71,000 weekly downloads, which is great. No, that's nice. Definitely, a lot more people need to learn about it.
Well, I always say if you need some utility or if you are writing too much code for something that shouldn't take too much code, then probably we may have something on ngxtension. And if we don't, feel free to, well, contribute to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I'd be happy to do it in the future.
what I can show here is, well, what we can do, I don't know, is showcase some new utilities that,
Yeah, which one is?
well, first one is the on utility. I mean, if you share screen,
Yeah. I'm gonna share it. I'm on it right now. Da, da, da. Let me. Why it? Wait, what? Sorry, I made it small for a moment. Screen share, yeah. I'm sorry, my brain is fried after spending 6 hours on Cloud Code trying to fix a bug that wasn't fixed in the end. Not an Angular bug though. Please don't get me started. Yeah, is this the one you were referring to?
yes,
Yeah. Ah, right.
it says experimental, but it's, as I said, every piece of code we have on ngxtension, we have a link to the code that you can copy on your, let's say, install or your project, so you don't have to
Yeah.
install it. So basically, what this does is it will start tracking the signals that you pass to it, like as we have here on the
Yeah.
best usage. And inside on, you have untracked, like everything will be on.
Yeah.
And this way, you have a, let's say, a better way of tracking untracking, like having explicit effect. This looks like this just is easier sometimes because you still use effect, but you are explicit about these are the signals that I care about. And then there is
Yeah.
the old, or not old, the explicit effect function. Yeah, this is equivalent to this one.
Yeah.
So
By the way, this is one thing that I love about ngxtension docs, that often if you have a function that just simplifies something, the explanation is just, you know what, it's just equivalent to this, just simpler.
yeah, it's sometimes simpler
Yeah.
to write,
Yeah.
but if
Yeah.
you have no idea about it, it's not easy to understand.
Yeah.
And
Oh, it also has access to previous values, huh?
yes,
No, right, nice.
and I don't think we have this with the current effect.
Right.
We don't.
Wait, what is the? I mean, I get the first two argument, but what is the third argument
You have a
here?
return clause in the end, like return count is current,
Oh,
have the previous result too. Like you can, I don't know if we can use this on computed. I don't think we can use
now
this
this
here.
is interesting. So essentially, now I can kind of create values inside effects that I don't need to store somewhere to access, like a result of computation that only
Yeah, it's
makes
like a
sense
reduce.
inside the effect.
I think yes, it's like a
Nice.
reduce. I mean, Matthew can explain more, but this is not yet usable in computed. I think there is an issue with the typing,
Yeah,
but that's why it says experimental.
got
So,
it.
but on effects, you can use this. And I think this is the same as solid.js has.
Right, right.
And also supports the defer, which basically says don't emit the first time you register this effect. This is
Yeah, so it will only work when the changes happen.
yes, exactly,
Yeah,
because that was mostly a feature request we had, and this is not like we are not Angular team, so we can put stuff out that sometimes make it easier, even though the API may not be optimal. But it's a way to test ideas too and
By
test
the
it.
way, one thing I noticed and want everyone watching to also notice that you don't call it in the effect callback. You
Is
essentially the on function is creating the callback, so
yes,
you pass it to yeah. Because at one moment I wanted to ask like, what if I do cleanup here and in effect, and then I realized there is no effect callback. This is the effect callback. This whole thing.
but you still use the effect.
Yeah, yeah. But can I ask like what's the reason? Like I understand in terms of like it keeps the semantics kind of the same or using the effect function but just provides something else. But is there like a deeper reason?
Well, it makes it sometimes easier to it like if you have multiple things that you want to depend
No.
on and not and start, let's say, saying I want to untrack this, untrack that. This just makes it easier to say I want to be tracked only on these things. Just like React has use effect with explicit
Yeah. Yeah.
dependencies.
No,
That's
I
what.
mean what I meant is like why have effect here at all? Like obviously it
Oh,
is
you mean
possible to make his like
go
yeah,
to explicit effect. There's the function, yeah, the one
yeah,
above. There's also this API. Like if you want to do this, now you can just
yeah.
do explicit effect. Well,
And
added
yeah.
we added the on thing, the on function. So I think in order to also make it work with computed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah,
Ah, got it. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
you still I still use explicit effect. I mean, on was released on 7.2, and the explicit effect has been there since I don't know a year or two now.
Yeah,
But
makes
the
sense.
explicit effect came up on the Angular issue about, let's say, explicit effects. There's an Angular
All
issue,
right.
like on GitHub.
I think I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and also on came up from there. I think Matthew
Hmm.
put it there.
Oh, there's some genuinely scary ones, like effect ones. If
It looks scary, but sometimes this thing is so useful. Like you want to run an effect once if something,
oh, okay.
and it's like the example may not be easy, but I don't have. I think I have a usage on Rx Angular, but it's basically saying you give me two callback functions. The first one should return something true or some object or something truthy, and then on the second one I would just run once.
No.
And I get that value,
Yeah.
and that's it. And turns out it's useful.
I think there was a kind of like similar function that was creating observables in RxJS, right? Something like wait, let me just the dev. I think
That's
if
basically
something.
just like filter and take one. Like effect once if is like when you subscribe, but you
Ah,
also
yeah.
filter or IIF.
Yeah, yeah, something like this because this accepts like an observable, sorry, a function that returns a boolean and then it selects which one to do. In this case, it's just selecting like when to do when to execute the callback.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah, I can see how this
it's
is.
like filter and
Yeah,
take one.
yeah,
And
yeah,
when you migrate from observables to signals, you somehow are like, okay, I need to filter, but I also need it only once. How
yeah.
do I do it? And
Yeah.
that's a function. I didn't create it. It was from external contributor. If you can
No,
check the name, I mean, you can always scroll to the top and
got it. Man, if we go this way, this
oh
will
no,
be like
on the
the
main page. Yeah.
no, no. I meant
Oh, also cool stuff. I don't know if anyone has checked yet, but we have signal map and signal set.
all right. Yeah, I
These
think
are
this one
also
was super
new.
interesting.
These are also new. It's like when you have a map, when you want to create a map, but also want to use signals and know when something changed. And basically, when you say new signal map, users now is a signal map where you can call
Yeah,
size, get, set, but those are
nice.
set from the map API, not from the signal API. But those
Uh,
have signals under the hood. So when you call get, that thing will start tracking just like it was a signal, even though it doesn't use the call function.
and this also like reacts to
Yeah, every time
everything you
you
do.
yeah every time you add something or you remove something or
This is structurally, yeah, different from just having signal of a set, for
yes,
example. Yeah, yeah. Oh, this is super cool.
it's like more fine grained than just I don't know creating a notifier when something changed and listening to it. Yeah, fine grained reactivity. And
Yeah, nice, nice.
I think signal set uses signal map under the hood, so it's like both things helping each other. Yeah, it's like feature
Yeah,
adds or like enable features. You can also have this as an array, or it can be like every time the array changes.
yeah.
This is mostly signal set, like adding things or removing.
Technically, this is the correct way of doing something like that instead of having an array.
Well, I wouldn't say correct. It's a way to do things. Correct. It's like you have to.
No,
I
I mean in a specific scenario like this. I mean, yeah, I know it's not modern computers, 64 gigabytes of RAM.
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, sure, but I mean, it doesn't make sense to have a data structure that has to check every item to like figure out if it has something or not. And now you can do it with a set, or for example, I mean, if we talk about it in NGRX entity package, maps are being used instead of arrays, for example, right, for a bit
Yes.
better performance. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I liberally use the word correct sometimes. Yeah. Wait, Michael says, I like that each page has a link to the source. Often they're simple enough to read the source and then just copy paste internal. Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what you've been saying. Yeah, great to have those map and set utils. I have some discussion in English about higher level JS primitives boxed values. Not working great without utils, so having those is nice. How about a proxy signal?
Well, how? What does it solve?
I don't know, just for fun.
Well, I've been thinking about a signal array, but I'm not sure about that. Like,
Yeah,
what does it solve? So, if anyone has a need for a signal array, open an issue or a PR, always happy to
yeah.
discuss about it.
Man, if we go this way, we're gonna spend 5 or 6 more hours here.
Yeah, there's we can spend too much time on every utility we have there.
uh, one thing that I must ask before we wrap it up is, what about the future? What about like your own ideas of the future? I know a lot of ideas are there in the GitHub issues, and Angular comes up with things that make some older things of yours obsolete at some moments. Is there some direction that you think, oh, we need to like work more on this sort of integrations, or maybe different uh, idea altogether?
Well, ngxtension is a library that collects good ideas, adds tests to them, like functions and stuff.
Hmm.
Make sure everything is tested so things don't break even if we change. Like that's number one thing I try to keep, let's say, to have it as strict as possible. We never should break anyone that is depending on it.
Yeah.
And if we do, of course, do it on a major version, but also on a major version, if it's possible to give schematics. So, what else? New ideas, the future. Well, if we can add more stuff about browser APIs, that would be great. I've been looking into Vue use and React hooks, like from other communities, also Solid and Svelte, checking what they have as utilities that we still don't have on
Yeah,
extension, and if it makes sense to add them. And I think we can start getting some more stuff from, like, some more ideas. This code will be different for sure.
yeah,
Not so much. I mean, refs and signals are almost the same. So yeah, let's keep adding good ideas from also other communities in here that or also
definitely.
come up with new stuff that no one has and cannot share it with everyone.
If you are watching this and you have some old utility that you've been using around in your projects, feel free to contribute to ngxtension, everyone. The library only keeps growing better and better with each passing month. I think even compared to the last time I visited documentation, there was a bunch of new things. So
Well,
yeah,
there's been new things over time, either by me or other contributors.
yeah.
New, like I worked on docs 2 weeks ago, I think, like better docs. Also, yeah, we have 72 contributors, and it's getting used a lot. So let's see, let's see where this library goes. I mean,
I think it goes places.
I'll keep working on it,
Definitely.
fixing
Yeah.
issues or merging pull requests. Let me merge this one.
Yeah. Uh, anyway, man, thanks for jumping in. Thanks for this amazing library. Thanks to you and every other contributor.
Thank
Uh, Thanks everyone for watching. Please go check out the docs again. Check out your own projects to see if there's anything interesting that might be worth contributing. And if anyone asks you, "Oh, how do I don't know, make something into a signal, or how do I get some data from another place, or make my effect run only once and on some conditions," that you didn't know the answer is, go ngxtension documentation and search there. You will definitely find something that will help. Thanks everyone. This is it for today. It's getting quite late
you.
in here. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks Anea, and bye
Yeah.
bye.